right, what's going on, everyone? This is Aiden Wood, mix and mastering here, and today I'm here to talk a little bit more about like a producer tip sort of video. But this is something that is essential, so key when it comes to making your music. And this does get talked a good amount about, but there is no reason why it shouldn't be emphasized more. And this specific thing is our sample selection. Now, there's a number of reasons why sample selection is important. For example, let's say you're trying to make a song in the style of deep house. You're going to try and lean towards chord stabs, like the Kerry Chandler sort of sound. Um, what you're going to do is you're going to reference those sort of songs that you know from the genres. You're going to use the key elements that you know that work. And then what you're going to do, which is going to make it creative, is you're going to kind of put your own twist on those things. So again, like what you're doing is you're taking a key part of the thing that you like about a song. Maybe it's a piano stab, maybe it's a bongo loop, whatever it is. You're taking something from like the genre or the type of house music that you do like. It doesn't have to be house music. It can be hip hop. It can be lo-fi, whatever that thing is you're taking a key part of it. So finding a sort of sample that makes sense in the context of that genre. And what you're doing next is you're adding your own creative sort of sense to it, right? So when we're making songs, we want to start with something that we are drawn towards, something we know that works for us. Maybe there's, a bell in a song that is a deep house song, but maybe we don't like that. If we don't like that part and that's not our favorite sort of thing of that genre, we don't have to use that. But what we're going to do is, using our taste, we're going to take the part of it that we do like and we're going to put that in our song. I really like chord stabs, for example, and I like the really sort of sustained chord stabs as well. I think they have a really cool feeling and emotion to them. So that's something I like to put a lot in my own songs. Now, maybe an example of something I don't do is use a lot of very percussive percussion loops. Sometimes I like to, just to change it up, and maybe it makes sense in the context of a song. But you're using the things that you like in those songs that you're trying to make sort of in the same area towards. You're going to use those things you do like and add them to your song. Now, when it comes to sample selection, it doesn't just have to be with those key elements like our stabs, like our vocals, like even our effects noises, I guess. But the thing that is really key when we're making a song in the context of a different genre or a genre that we do like is making sure that we have the proper sound bank available to make that. Now, what that means is we need a fuck ton of samples and a lot of them. Like we don't just want to have, maybe 5 or 10 top loops that we use in every song. We want to make sure we have something we can really scan through and understand to make sure that it makes sense in the songs that we have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give an example here of why sample selection is so important. So what I have is I have just a little 5-bar loop here, just something to get us started with an idea. So this is like a bit of a very simple idea. It literally made it 30 seconds ago. There's not much to it yet. But what we do have is we have our kick, our bass, we have a little synth line going. What I would now look towards is something like our drums. And this is where the sample selection part comes in, because depending on the sample selection that we have for our drums, it's going to completely shape the song that we create. So for example, let's use a top loop that I found here. Let me just take out the kick because I already have a little kick going. What we're going to do is listen to it with the context here. Now we can hear pretty quickly, that's sounding pretty good. It's a little more of like that sort of Latin tech house sort of drum. Lots of percussive elements in there, pretty on the grid, not too much groove going on. But this is a genre of music that people love. And, for many people, they're going to hear this, they're going to think, okay, this is what I'm going for. This is the kind of song that I want to create. It's more of a roller. It might have a bit of a different bass line than the one in here right now. Maybe we'll even go back and change a synth lead if we like this drum and we don't think it makes sense together. We're beginning to just get sort of the wheels turning in terms of what our end product might sound like. Now, for example, what I'm trying to do with this is kind of create a more 90s sounding, very groovy, very funky song with this idea. And so my initial thought when I hear this is, this sounds cool, but maybe this doesn't make a lot of sense for the song I'm trying to create right now. And this is all part of our process as a producer, is understanding what we want to make, what makes sense to us, what sounds the best to us, because what sounds the best to us isn't going to sound the same to someone else. So this is where we're using our taste, our musical interest to create the song that we want. So like I just said, I think this sounds cool, but this isn't really what I'm going for with my song. So I might look for another loop. And so if we pull up another loop here, we can listen, hear what it sounds like. Yeah, to me that sounded very cool. And from here I can start adding my hats. I think this loop sounds incredible. It's got a ton of swing to it. It's got some cool little flangey effects going on. And I think that's something I would roll with. Again, what's really important here is it's very possible that someone making a song doesn't like this loop. They don't think it makes sense for them. That's okay too. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we're making these songs, we're not just going with like the first sound that we hear, with the first loop that we hear. We're going with what makes sense to us, what makes sense in the context of the song we're creating. And that's why it's really, 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 really important to create a sample bank that you can rely on, cater it towards the type of music that you're hoping to create, the music that you're leaning towards, the music that you just end up creating. Cater your sample selection towards that. You know, if I had a bunch of like EDM samples, for example, and I tried to throw in an EDM top loop here, maybe I can even try and find one here. Like, I don't know if I'll, like, let's listen to whatever this is here. It sounds kind of cool, but it doesn't make sense in the context of the song we're using here. And it only doesn't make sense because that's not what I'm hoping to make with the song. I want something that's groovy, that is swung, that has some cool effects in it. So I'm gonna go back to this one. And from there, you can start to make your main drum elements. You can get your main hat, your main clap in there. You can try and derive the groove from this, and you can apply it to your other loops. That's something I can maybe talk about more in another video, because that's really important when we're talking about using samples with different types of groove, is making sure they line up. Again, that's something I can maybe do in another video if people are interested. But I really wanted to just get this idea out there that just because a top loop sounds good and it is maybe one of the beginning ones, one of the first ones that you picked, I would always advise you to think about the kind of song you're trying to create. What are you hoping to get out of your song? Are you hoping to make a Latin tech house song? Are you hoping to make sort of a 90s inspired funky or house song? Think about those things when you're creating your song. Think about the sort of sounds that you're interested, the music that you like, and then cater your samples towards that. That is how you're going to create the songs that you want, that you like to listen to, that are similar to the songs that you like. And that's really honestly how you can help develop a sound, is understanding what you like, what makes sense for you, and what you want your music to sound like. So I know this has been a bit of a quicker video here, but I just wanted to talk about this idea here of sample selection. It's something that is so incredibly important in defining our sounds, in understanding our own process, in refining our samples. Like, some people have too many samples, and I think it's important to have a good amount of samples, but the right samples. If you have 50% of samples that you don't use, throw them in the trash, get some new ones. Throw them in the trash, don't even get some new ones. If you want to really, lock down into your process, maybe you have 10 sample packs you really like, get rid of the rest of them. They're just distractions. You don't need them. Use what makes sense for you. Use what has worked for you. Use what you can see other producers using. If you see someone in a breakdown video using a sample pack, go and look that up, find out what the sample pack is. That is another amazing way to make music similar to the peers that you look up to, similar to the artists you look up to. These are all ways that we can refine our process, our samples, so that we can make better music. So yeah, guys, I just want to say thanks again for watching this video. If you have any questions at all about the sample packs that I use, I can drop those in the description. About my template here, I just made this new template. If you have any questions about that, I can also drop that as a download here. But that's pretty much it for me, guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.